You've got questions, I've got answers. Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, answering the questions that new leaders ask us. Actually, our goal is to help all leaders become more productive, successful, and confident. Today, the question is about coaching and reprimanding. Are you ready? Let's get started. So the question that I was recently asked reads like this. Where does coaching end and reprimanding begin? How much coaching should be done before affirmative action? Okay, so let's start with the definition of reprimand, because there's a lot in the question, and it seems to be implying the idea that coaching and reprimanding are different and there's some sort of progression. And so let's start with what's the definition of reprimand. And so I looked it up in dictionary.com, and here's what I found. Reprimand, a severe reproof or rebuke, especially a formal one by a person in authority. Well, given that definition, you are that person in authority if you're the leader, so that part of it makes sense. I'm not sure I love the rebuke part. I'm not sure that that's quite what we want. This does not mean that we shouldn't be clear with people, but I'm not sure rebuke really helps us. The part of the definition that I love for us as leaders is the word formal. Because I think if I put my head in the thoughts of the questioner, that when they're saying this, they're talking about how do I document, when do I document it, when do I make it all more formal. I'm saying coaching ought to be formal from the start in this manner, in that we've got to set clear expectations for people about what we expect of them. They need to know what they are. That ought to be formalized. That ought to be written down. It needs to be crystal clear between you as the coach and the other person as the employee in this case. How can we hold them to a standard if they don't know what it is? Clear expectations first. And so if we have those documented from the start, we got a better chance of success. Right, so we've got clear expectations. The next thing that we ought to have formally clear is, what are the impacts? What's the impact when we deliver? What's the impact or consequence when we don't deliver? We got to make sure that's there too. That's a formal piece. And if we've got those two things in place, we got a lot less chance that we have to get to rebuke and reprimand, because people are clear about what's truly expected. There's a third part we got to be formal about, and that is in follow-up. Now, when I say formal, I mean we ought to be doing it regularly. We ought to be doing it carefully. And as I've already described, we ought to be writing it down. We ought to be following up to make sure they're getting it. Too often, what happens is people say it's coaching, and then I've coached them, and then they don't take any action, so now I have to reprimand them. Why don't we just get clear expectations, give clear impacts, and then follow up regularly so they've made a little progress? How do we help move them further? That's real coaching. If we do those three things, we got a better chance of getting what we want, never having to end up with reprimand. None of this is to say we shouldn't follow HR procedures. None of this is to say we shouldn't be progressively writing people up if necessary. I'm saying if we do the right stuff on the front end, we have to do that much less often. No expectations, no impact, no follow-up, no change. So all of that leads us to a summary tweet. Let me share this with you so you can share it with others. Successful coaching requires clear expectations, clear impacts of behaviors, and follow-up to help people make change. Now, I hope that this answer has been helpful. I know I've been asked it in many ways, many different times, and so I hope it's helpful to you. And if it was, I hope you share it with others that might find it useful as well. You can do whatever social media magic you want to do, and we'd be very appreciative. Now, on this site, on the budtoboss.com site, there are lots of resources, free and otherwise, to help you further beyond just the answer to this one question, to help you become more productive, successful, and confident as a leader. That's why we're here. I hope this episode has been helpful for you, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future.